Also, here, I wanted to show you this. Israeli captive Noa Argamani described to the UN how an Israeli airstrike killed fellow captive Yossi Sharabi. The strike hit the building where they were held, causing it to collapse. Sharabi, who had survived the October 7th attacks, became trapped under the rubble and was killed by Israeli forces. I wanted to post this, and I wanted to talk about this because, you know, there's a lot of back and forth going on with the Bibas family and how the Israeli government said that they were ruthlessly and brutally murdered by the hands of, like, Hamas militants or whatever. And, you know, here is a hostage that survived the process explaining to you that their biggest fear, this person, by the way, is very important for a couple different reasons. Because Noa Argamani came back and the Israeli government weaponized her conditions that they had actually, the Israeli government weaponized their conditions that they put her through, okay, which she will explain in great detail here, and claimed that Hamas had actually harmed her, like broke her arm or whatever. And she said, bravely, that that was not the case. She came out and said on her Instagram story, that she had felt victimized again by the Israeli government when they used her personal accounts and basically lied about her condition, saying that it was actually Hamas that harmed her when it was actually the Israeli government that had harmed her. This is not a person who has any sympathies for Hamas. The Israeli government used her as the poster for all of the hostages. This is not a person in any way, shape, or form that has any sympathies for Hamas whatsoever. Wait, they broke her arm? No, dude. I'm saying that the Israeli government claimed that Hamas had broken her arm. They lied about her firsthand account. Yeah. She came here for Israel's ambassador, by the way. Like, this is a person that's not there to do propaganda for Hamas. But she wants to basically explain her conditions.
After 54 days in captivity, it was just me, Itai Svirsky, and Yossi Sharabi. Both of them was kidnapped from their houses in Kibbutz Be'eri. We were in a war zone 24/7. It's terrifying for every day, for every second. One evening, the house that we all be holding was blown up, and we found ourselves in the destructions.
Destruction caused by the Israeli state, chat. Just let me plug in the holes here for people who are dense and can't understand.
Itai was able to stand up, and Yossi and I was stuck under the rebels. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I thought it's going to be my last second of my life. I screamed so loud so someone would hear me. And I heard Yossi screaming too. But after a few seconds, I stopped hearing from Yossi. I was pulled out of the rebels, and I tried to help Yossi. But it was already too late. Yossi was a close friend of mine, and he was a pure, kind soul. He will always be in my heart. Itai and I had to find someone else to hide. So one of our captors took us to another house.
That experience that she described, the harrowing details that she described, by the way, is the experience that virtually every Palestinian has at least second-degree association with, if not immediate association with. Here is Daniel Levy, former Israeli peace negotiator, addressing the United Nations Security Council today. His full remarks are below, where he said a minute of silence for each of the Bibas children would be appropriate, and a minute of silence for each of the more than 18,000 Palestinian children murdered in Israel's devastation of Gaza. That silence would extend over 300 hours. These are Israelis, and it's not like these are Israelis that are pro-Hamas. I just need you to understand. Like, Israel's actions are fucking unimaginable, dude. There is no defense of it. It is completely and utterly indefensible.
And it was so important to hear your testimony of an awful experience to which no human should ever be subjected, because it reminds us that at the end of the day, this is about people. Each story, deeply personal, your strength in the face of...
Yeah, this is Noah's statement. Based on a statement of Noah from Yedioth, this confirms that what Hamas said previously and confirms that the Israeli captives were not forced to say what they said, even though they, of course, were. They were speaking under duress. I don't agree with this account's assessment. The notion that you can use this kind of statement as testimony is silly, okay? They're hostages. That's a ridiculous assessment. Having said that, however, despite the fact that she is under duress in this situation, it still corresponds. It quite literally corresponds to her testimony after she was released. Civilians as hostages, come on. Wait, civilians as... I'm not saying that this is an appropriate thing, for the record. Having said that, however, I think Noah is an IDF soldier. Why don't you diminish the 2 kids that died again? Says Elian Aragon. I did not do that, as a matter of fact. I did not do that at all. You are a fucking moron. I think you probably saw me laughing at the scary poster that Hamas had put forth, which showed that Benjamin Netanyahu looked like a villain, like a vampire. This is pure bad faith nonsense. I am not someone who is an ultra-Zionist or a Zionist at all. I don't laugh at baby killings, you know? You should take that up with other people, possibly in your social circle, that takes great joy out of the death and destruction of children. The likelihood that the Bibas children were also killed by an airstrike is still fairly high. I do not trust the Israeli government's initial assessment. I'm sorry. Ethan Klein uploaded a video claiming you laughed at them. I know. The funniest thing is, it doesn't even matter if the context is directly in the video. I've realized that a lot of people are so primed into fucking refusing to understand the exact context in the video. Even if he doesn't clip me out of context. Or this is not just Ethan either. This is just everybody that does the same shit. Sometimes they will literally feature the context. Like the famous case of me saying, the likelihood of rapes happening on October 7 does not change the dynamic for me even one bit, is literally me saying, you cannot do a genocide on an entire population of people because of the likelihood of sexual assaults happening. That is the most normal statement of all time. You are a psychopath if you go, no, actually, genocide is valid if sexual assault happened. Is that your argument? Why do you think it's appropriate? Is it appropriate to do genocide to an entire population of people? It's very interesting because seemingly these people are pro-Palestine too. But at the same time, not only are they pro-Palestine, but they're also simultaneously pro-genocide of Palestinians. Kind of crazy that you got to literally adjust the exact same thing over and over every single day. I know, these people are dumbasses who don't care either. They are trolls and have been on the internet for decades making fun of real life pain out because they're just self-interested nihilists. No, I don't think so. I don't think every single person. AB and Dan pushed back and said you were laughing at the absurdity of the Nosferatu image of Netanyahu, but Ethan still didn't concede his point that you were laughing at the children. Yeah, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the truth. He thinks this is good propaganda. He can't actively say he loves Israel and he loves everything that Israel is doing because there's too much shame in his heart to openly admit that. So he has to just do the opposite thing and basically say, I'm actually the only real pro-Palestinian person, and every other pro-Palestinian person, actually, every other pro-Palestinian advocate is actually bad. They're bad. They're all bad. This is my entire advocacy for the past 16 months of genocide is going to revolve around shitting on every single person that is pro-Palestinian. Yeah. It's also the, 1 year anniversary of Aaron Bushnell self-immolating in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. I wonder what Ethan said about Aaron Bushnell. Because he's so pro-Palestine. I wonder what kind of things he said about that as a pro-Palestine guy. One of the grossest things I've seen from that community is constantly saying, you're pulling the genocide card. You want to know something really sad about that? Half of the instances where I was like, there's a genocide going on, chatters. I don't think this is relevant, was actually me defending Ethan. That's what's so stupid about it, because for the entire year, I didn't pay attention to what the fuck he was saying about Aaron Bushnell, for example. I had no idea what he was saying because I thought it was unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, foolishly, mind you, telling my chat not to care or consider what Ethan Klein was saying because there were more important things that were happening, like the genocide that was happening that we were covering. And that's what's really interesting about it. Now, cynically, he just uses all of those instances as he calls it the genocide card. Well, we're talking directly about the genocide. So maybe make an assessment on all of the instances where you've talked about Israel and Gaza and why you have so heavily focused on all of the people that are critical of Israel. It's so gross that people even say the genocide card, Careful for the next scary IG story incoming. I know. Like, not even a second where Ethan Klein or his community of otherwise progressive, or what remains of his community and what remains of his community that used to be progressive, ever think pull the genocide card is a insane thing to say. It is not a card that I'm using to deflect away from serious criticism. It's me quite literally saying, eyes on the prize. There is something more important happening here that you should be focusing on rather than petty ass fucking drama. And for the better part of this past year, that was me telling my community not to focus on whatever Ethan Klein was saying because I thought it was silly and unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, hey, he posted on Instagram in 2021 about how he was critical of Israel. How foolish was I? Holy shit. Become a hateful, abusive, narcissistic monster over the course of a year. He did not understand that I was trying to defend him when we had those conversations, when I kept telling him like, hey, don't say stuff like this. I know you're pro-Palestine. Don't say stuff like this. People are going to misunderstand you. Turns out I was wrong. Yeah, in the words of Shonda Black, if your N-word compilation is longer than your advocacy for the Palestinian emancipatory movement, then you probably aren't pro-Palestine.
Nobody can have any nuanced conversation about this.
Responding to criticisms over his mockery of Aaron Bushnell, Ethan Klein launches into a tirade directly out of the Hasbro playbook before inadvertently betraying his own cynical pandering. Why would you call me a Zionist when I have said all the things you want to hear from me?
My first reaction is this. It was absolutely insane how he stood the whole time. That was crazy. I don't even know how that's humanly possible. Again, not to put this uncouth, but he's a champ at fucking burning. I mean, that sounds bad, but he did it really good. Does that sound bad? We have to make levity of things. Does that sound bad that he was really good? I mean that as a compliment. What the fuck are you guys angry about, you weirdos? What did I do? My God, stop. They're just saying all I hear is Ethan no, but I don't understand what I've even fucking said. Oh, chewing? Yeah, I'll stop that. Maybe they're just talking about the chewing. Could that be?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Wait, what did I even say that to mean? Like, give me a fucking break. Holy shit. Didn't the guy do it because he wanted people to talk about it? Like that's what I'm doing. My point is this. First of all, I was stunned by the way that he stood through the whole thing. I mean, shit, that was wild. And really showed his true resolve to protest in that way. I can only imagine this.
Yeah, this was when there was backlash in his community towards a lot of the things that he was saying. Backlash that was organic, by the way, not backlash that I directed, because at the time when people would send me clips like this, I was like, I'm not going to watch that. I don't care. Just so you understand. At the time, when members of his community would come in here because, post leftovers, people would be like, look at what Ethan said again. He's a Zionist, I promise. And I was like, hey guys, there's a genocide happening. I'm going to cover that instead. I don't really care about what Ethan Klein is saying about Israel or Palestine. He is not your enemy. And that's what I said over and over again for a fucking year. Unimaginably charitable. And what did he do after all of that? He came after every single pro-Palestinian voice that was around me, that had ever fucking worked with me in any capacity. And then he came after me too. And how did he come after me? With the most ridiculous clips claiming that I was, scary, hate America, only have America bad perspectives, using some of the silliest sourcing I've ever seen in my entire life. There's a point in which he says, when we were having a back and forth about the Uyghur re-education camps, where he's like, oh, well, aren't they organ harvesting and doing death camps and killing millions of Uyghurs? And I'm like, no, they're re-education camps, which I think is unacceptable, okay? And that those re-education camps have actually closed down, according to an Associated Press article. He turned around and acted like there was no Associated Press article. Dog, that's your fault. You didn't Google it. And what you did end up Googling didn't even correspond to the evidence that you suggested that the concentration camps, the death camps, were still ongoing. He was using newer articles that were working on information from prior to our conversation. Wonderful stuff. That's what happens when you spend 6 months on ChatGPT trying to craft a compelling narrative about things that you don't understand. I heard some of the things that he said in his video, like how 1 million Jews were displaced forcibly. More Jews were displaced during the Nakba than Palestinians, he said, which he calls the War of Israeli Independence, by the way. That is the highest level of being misinformed. At that point, I don't even know if you're Zionist or just a moron. That's what he said. And his dumbass audience of progressive individuals ate that shit up. That's what I'm frustrated by. That's what I'm insanely frustrated by. Because Ethan Klein, for better or for worse, did cultivate a relatively progressive community. And now he's just a Hasbara bot farming that community into a more reactionary position on a genocide for an apartheid state that he lived in and hated when he lived there. It's crazy. Like, the level of historical revisionism in his anti-Hasan video is so insane. And people still unironically repeat that. Liberal-minded people repeat that. That is what frustrates me. People who are otherwise progressive turning around and being like, oh my God, if everything Ethan is saying in this video is true, and he says he's pro-Palestinian, then yeah, maybe there is definitely a lot of lying and obfuscation happening on Hasan's side. Insane. Literally has the Hamas Piker meme in the background of his entirety of his new video. Yeah, of course, that kind of shit it flies. Like, no one will ever bat an eye at that. But God forbid you say Sabra hummus is dog shit. Oh my God, it's the peak of anti-Semitism. I stubbed my toe. This must be Hasan's anti-Semitism. People don't want to collaborate with me no more. Not because I've had an extended crash out in public in the funniest and saddest ways possible that everyone can see, but most people are still too afraid to ever openly disparage because you sick your fan base on everyone, no matter how big or small, including anonymous Redditors who are former fans of yours, trying to engage in frivolous lawsuits to just expressly dox people. Not because you think you're going to win these defamation suits, but specifically because you want to dox them, and then openly talking about how you're going to tell every random person's immediate family members and places of employment that they're actually anti-Semitic for the crime of criticizing you. What is this? Disinformation Tracker Content Nuke Part 2 Ethan lied for Israel.
The 1940s. Ever broke just a...
He claimed yesterday that you crashed out and you needed intervention and that you live a sadly lonely life just streaming. Yeah. If I'm crashing out because I responded to one goddamn tweet, if I tweeted twice because I saw something that I consider to be a bridge too far, which is obviously this tweet. If this tweet is crashing out, what the is doing Instagram posts every single day and 8 or 10 videos virtually covering me every single fucking podcast? What the is that? We need a new term for that. If one tweet after months and months of endless chirping is a crash out, what the is this? Yeah, look at this crash out where I said, no way, the guy who ended his podcast over disagreements on Israel's genocide, who spent the last year trying to get every pro-Palestinian voice banned, is visiting Israel like Michael Rappaport. He's going to show us all that there's no apartheid. He even mentions me in this. He can't seem to get my name out of his goddamn mouth.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys.
You haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long fucking time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hasan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy that these mega lefties like Hasan are calling Israel an apartheid state. I wonder what other mega leftists have called Israel an apartheid state. Oh, that's right. Nelson fucking Mandela, dude. I don't know. I feel like he knows a thing or two about apartheid, don't you think? Mega leftist, dude. Nelson Mandela in Palestine, in his own words, on the 30th anniversary since his release from prison, the late South African leader remains an icon for the Palestinians. This was all the way back in 2020, this 30-year anniversary. I don't care about all the petty shit. I do, however, care about, especially when we have a fascist administration with numerous tossing Sig Heils left and right as the administrative state is being blown to bits by billionaire parasites. I do care about one of the last remaining progressive communities turning into a reactionary shithole because they're following the whims of a narcissistic madman who can't let go of his love and loyalty to this apartheid state, this settler colonial apartheid state currently conducting a fucking genocide. That is a bridge too far. He openly stated his support for the Palestinian Liberation Organization during a town hall meeting in the U.S. broadcast on the ABC channel. At the time, it was still regarded as a terrorist organization by U.S. and Israel. We identify with the PLO because just like ourselves, they are fighting for the right of self-determination. Arafat is a comrade in arms, and we treat him as such. In a 1977 speech on International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, Mandela reaffirmed his support for Palestinian rights. We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians. The city in the West Bank, occupied Palestinian land, the same city that Ethan and Gila called a terrorist city, the city of Ramallah, there is a Nelson Mandela statue. How ridiculous. I'm ashamed that there are so many people that straight up just dropped all of this stuff the moment that Ethan decided every single person that is a defender of Palestinian emancipation is bad and a terrorist. It's shocking. It's shocking how that turn happened. Like, what happened to individual thinkers? What happened to progressive-minded people? He just purged them from his community. And then in the process, those who remained, I guess, were just rabid sycophants.
It's like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you.
Yeah. Remember, he's talking about Israel. The mega leftists like Hasan are saying that Israel's a Jim Crow style society.
Like it's some super racist, like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys how beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
So diverse. It's so multicultural and so diverse. Anyway, if you want to understand why it's fucking ridiculous, obviously this in and of itself is frustrating to hear. What? In response to you saying the Hamas wouldn't kill hostages because they're literally their bargaining chips, he went on to say that they killed the kids because, quote, they didn't want to take care of them. Yeah, I know. It's because, yes, because everything the Palestinians do are bad. Everything that Israel does, even if it's bad, it was actually in the direction of good, a higher good. Hey, Hasan, I was just wondering if you're anti-BDS because apparently it's anti-Semitic, or anti-blockade, despite saying Nelson Mandela and the ANC blocking commerce was base. Anti-JF, Jewish Voice for Peace, calling them a slur. Anti-creators for Palestine because they're not real activism. And also wants to show how non-Jim Crow like Israel is to whitewash the apartheid. Can you still be pro-Palestinian? Asking for a friend. They donated $6,500 one time. Yeah, $6,500 to the fundraiser that I was doing, by the way. You know, the main terrorist guy. So ridiculous. It's so gross to use this ongoing conflict, no matter which side you're on, this ongoing conflict, as a way to drive a wedge, as a way to just be like, this is my own personal petty project. It's always pure projection. When he says you're using the genocide card, it's like, no, man, you're using an ongoing genocide to go after people who are critical of the genocide, because you can't cope with the reality that numerous people from the progressive community that you cultivated obviously had disagreements with the way that you were covering this shit. Yeah. Meanwhile, the leftover episodes are still up on their channel while trying to get you banned from Twitch. I know. Dangerous, scary, radical terrorism that he put up on his channel and still maintains on his channel while actively trying to get me banned, claiming that the platform he's on is, of course, not anti-Semitic, or the people that he hangs out with who literally voted for Donald Trump, they are all perfect little angels. But you know who's actually at fault? A person that I'm falsely claiming told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. Oh, I can't find any clips of Hasan saying don't vote for Kamala Harris? Well, I'll just lie about it anyway because my fucking audience will eat it up. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I saw him desperately trying to find a clip of me not voting or urging people not to vote, in spite of the reality that I've spent countless fucking hours telling people to go out and vote, and literally voted on stream, by the way. Voted on stream. Yeah, Hasan is a big reason why Donald Trump won. Meanwhile, he had Steiny visit in person last week. A person who Donald Trump literally mentioned by name. I'm not even against communicating with people who voted for Trump. Obviously, I talk to Bradley Martin all the time. It's important to understand why people vote for Trump. It's also important to dismantle the arguments, you know? I don't know if he's doing that. What is this?
This is a result of Hasan's activism.
Did you not get the memo? We're way past that, Hasan. We hate you.
Yeah.
It actively didn't help make sure we don't get Trump in office, so.
I want to thank the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys.
Your favorite toy is here. Can we bring out our special guest?
It's my best bud. It's
Tiny!
finally in the... Wow. Thank you guys for inviting Steiny. That's so nice.
I hope he's happy with, like, Trump-Landia that we're gonna get there.
I don't think he's full-blown right-wing, but he is certainly not pro-Palestine. Just saying. He says you shouldn't talk about Nelson Mandela being on a terrorist watch list because Mandela was anti-violence. I know, I heard that. It's ridiculous. Again, he does not know. He does not understand. He doesn't know anything. That is the problem. But plenty of people also don't know anything. So when you have a major platform like this, perhaps it would be best for you to at least do a little bit of cursory research before flying off the fucking handles, making insane claims. It's like, we don't have a lot of progressive spaces. There aren't that many outwardly progressive content creators out there, outwardly progressive commentators out there. So it's sad to see a relatively large audience of somewhat progressive individuals turning around and just taking the fucking most reactionary position on Israel because their favorite content creator has been crying victim for a year now. But now he's stuck because he farmed all of the fucking anti-Hasan people. And the moment that he stops talking about me, they're not going to give a fuck about his goofs and gaffes. He already eradicated his audience that cared about the goofs and gaffes by fatiguing them with endless amounts of Hasan content. Sure, maybe a decent 30% of your base actually also came on board with the Hasan content and they think I'm a vile human being because your subreddit is basically turned into the Hasan snark page now. It's Destiny 2. But the moment that you move on to a different target, they're going to fucking go away. They forced a fucking journalist to go private after writing an article about me because Ethan Klein posted on his Instagram story like a goddamn coward again, crying about a positive article that came out about me on Slate. Ridiculous. I know he worked with Dan Saltman, Sex Pestany's doxing brigadier general for his nuke, and that's why it was dog shit and it flopped. He got the views though. Come on, dog. His Keemstar nuke was like 6 million. He literally activated his inactive channel to try and, you know, farm more people to the cause. All he did was remind people that they were subscribed to his old channel and then subsequently unsubscribe. Cried about me not watching his content puke. I still, after all is said and done, I still wish Ethan well. I want him to get better because I think that there is still a kind individual deep down inside. But I think that this past year has completely bricked his brain. He literally thinks like people calling him a Zionist is the most anti-Semitic thing he's ever heard when, you know, he's just defending Israel over and over again. Not directly defending Israel and saying like Israel's the greatest nation on the planet, even though he did do that when he said he was going to go to Israel, but defending Israel nonetheless by attacking every vocal advocate of Palestinians and calling them all terrorists. Like, sure, he's not doing I hope your beeper goes off memes in public, but that doesn't change the reality that he has actively worked to deplatform every pro-Palestinian content creator. Like, how the fuck can you say you're pro-Palestinian